So with our spraying, what we want to do is, as I say, because it's so scaled down, we can't really just do all the recessed panel lines and everything. I want to do like a mottling effect all over it. But what we can do, there are some areas where we can do your traditional pre-shading. So on the saucer section, I mean, we've got this big sort of ridge just here, this sort of V going on. We could actually spray that, right? Because I mean, potentially that's quite a bit of a shadowy area. So why not just spray that bit there, right? It's a big sort of area, as I say, to create a shadow. So we could do areas like that. We do have the phases as well, right? We are going to have to sort of, I think we have to paint these, or a decal goes on top of them. But like, we could have these areas being a little bit darker, right? So it's okay to do your traditional pre-shading on certain areas. I'd say they should be okay. As you can see, it doesn't look like a masterpiece. It's not supposed to. You know, pre-shading is all about weathering. We're going to put a coat of paint on top of this, so any sort of unneatness or mistakes, they will get feathered out. It will look better, right? But actually being unneat's kind of good, because I do find that and I've seen some people, they literally kind of do it like it's a grid, right? And it's all very, very precise and very, very neat. And weathering isn't like that. Weathering's very sort of random and all over the place. I mean, we could, you know, take one area and really sort of make that really dark and black, like so, and it ain't gonna hurt. It's just not gonna hurt if like one area gets a bit more black than the other. Some it's a little bit faded, maybe it's a bit wobbly. It doesn't matter. It adds to the flavor. And the cool thing is when we do the next step, where we actually like put our main coat on top of this, any areas you don't like, all you gotta do is spray a little bit more in that area, and you can knock it back to a nice point that you like. So don't worry about mistakes. I mean, I could just go, whoops, a little mistake just there, no biggie. I can come along later on and just add a little bit more of the base color and just kill that mistake. So, you know, really sort of don't worry too much. When you do this, it's good to learn your biting point. I always teach the biting point. It's always press down for air, slowly come back, and boom, that point in which you start getting paint coming out, that's your biting point. Just like on a car with a clutch, you can hold that biting point and you can then do all these lines and all this kind of stuff. Now, we normally do getting kind of close, so you know, the lower your air pressure you can get it without it speckling, the better. But basically, here and there, you're gonna have to sort of just clean your nozzle end, because you know, it will build up with paint, it will get dry paint on there, and as it builds up, your spray pattern starts to go off a little bit. Doesn't hurt as well just to go a bit of a quick blast all the way back, whacking the trigger all the way back and just blasting a bunch of paint off. Maybe clean the end of your nozzle again, just to sort of, you know, get any dried bits up there. So we could go off and do all these little bits, but what we can also do is this mottling effect that I'm on about. This is where just generally all over the model, just to give this paintwork a bit of a mottled effect, right? We're doing something like this. It's just lots of squiggles, maybe figure of eights, Tetris shapes, you know, any kind of just really mottly, funky shapes that you can kind of do, right? We don't want this to be quite thick, by the way. We don't want to have like big, you know, very sort of heavy coverage like that, doing that kind of mottling. You know, just very sort of quick, just very sort of faded, feathered mottling effects, just like so, nice and easy, you know, all nice and sort of random. Right, absolutely no problem at all. You know, all I'm doing is just holding that biting point and doing all sorts of funny patterns. And as you can see, you know, this mottling effect is a lot lighter than what I've done these sort of hard edges just here with like the phases and everything. Right, nice and simple. Just do that all over the model, and that should give us basically it should give our base color a little bit more than just being a flat, simple base color. It'll give our paintwork a little bit of life all around the model. And there she is, all nicely mottled up for us. Hopefully, as you can see, you know, I picked those couple of areas where I've gone just like maybe a bit black to do some normal sort of pre-shading, but generally it's pretty sort of mottled all over. And what we're going to do now is we're going to use, I found a nice colour. You can go out there, do loads more research, maybe use different colours and stuff. Right, I know some people like to mix. They might sort of start with a white and maybe add a bit of grey to it, and try and get like a whitey grey thing going on there. But I think I found a pretty sort of nice suitable match here. It's 71119 white grey. This is by Vallejo, and it's basically a white that's got like a tinge of grey in there, and that's kind of what you sort of after, really. I mean, you could go off and watch Star Trek First Contact, and sort of you can sort of see them walking actually on the hull, so you really get like a good look at the colour, right? But hopefully you can sort of see from the lid there, it's pretty sort of whitish. Ooh, let's almost forgot, always pour in your thinners first, right? Because there is always a little reservoir just in there. If you pour your paint in first, that's what's going to come out your colour cup first, right? Which means then you're potentially going to get blockages because you've got like pure paint coming out your airbrush. And let's just give that a mix. I've done about a 50-50 mix as well, right? Which is going to give us, you know, should give us good coverage. But when you do pre-shading, when you come to this stage of putting the main colour down, you don't really want to be getting great coverage straight away, right? Because with any kind of pre-shading, if you're new to the hobby, probably the first couple of models, you're going to kill this off, right? But if you follow these simple steps, hopefully you won't. So basically, I'm just going to start with this source section. I'm just going to spray on a nice simple misty coat, right? A nice misty coat where you basically almost don't see it, and then cut to where, and it should dry pretty sort of quickly. We do a light misty coat because when it comes to paint likes to stick to itself, so a light misty coat gets it to stick to the model, and then all your spraying you're doing after this should nicely stick to the model, and it just basically gets everything sticking nicely to it. So that's pretty dry pretty quickly, and then we're going to come in with a normal light coat, right, where you do start to see, you know, a nice bit of coverage going down, hopefully, as you can see there. And basically I'm just spraying this, and as soon as you start seeing that, oh, you know, that area I'm spraying is looking wet, just move along. You know, you don't want to get the paint pooling up and getting really wet in those areas you're spraying. Right, and hopefully, as you can see there, I was just going around the leading edges as well. Let's maybe move that out the way. So hopefully what you're seeing here is what is happening with pre-shading. If you've never done it before, what we've basically got going on is we're building up this paint, right? We're getting our main colour, it's starting to build up, and every coat of spray that we put down, it's going to build up, and this black is slowly disappearing, right? So as you can see, it's slowly disappearing here, and this half, you know, is still, you know, quite black and untouched. And the whole point is that we build up coat after coat until that black is just about to disappear. Literally, you know, if we spray one more coat on it, that black's disappeared, and what we get is this nice bit of pre-shading just coming through. So I'm just going to cut to air, and this should dry. It is drying pretty sort of quickly here, and then I'm going to come in with my second light coat, which by this second coat, you know, this black is really starting to fade away now with this second one. And there we go. Hopefully, if you remember, I did like a big black bit just there, and although that was maybe a bit of a mistake, I did do that black line just here, and as you can see, you know, you don't have to be really sort of, you know, an excellent spray modeler to do pre-shading, because, you know, this base coat is covering up any sort of mistakes or anything like that, because we're just seeing it come through that little bit, and hopefully, as you can see, it's starting to get there. So probably at this stage, where, I don't know, probably 1 or 2 more coats and you've potentially killed this off, this is the stage where, after doing about 2 coats, maybe 3, this one, because we're kind of doing almost white on black, probably 3 more coats, but I just want to sort of show you without keep spraying coats on. But basically, get your thinners out and thin your paint down a little bit more. So what this does is it makes your paint that little bit thinner. So what it means is it's going to be more transparent, which means we're not going to kill this black off very quickly. We're going to need to spray on more coats to actually remove all this black and just be left with our base white grey colour. Right, so this gives us more control over our pre-shading. Right, so I know I can now spray on this and I'm not going to get as good a coverage, and I can control the pre-shading, how much it comes through or not.